Hey everyone! Today we're going to tackle something that we all use in Microsoft Word, but maybe don't always love the look of: tables. We're going to go way beyond those boring default lines, and I'm going to show you how to completely transform your tables into something polished and professional just by mastering the border controls.
I mean, just look at this. It's night and day, right? On the left, you've got that standard table Word gives you. It does the job, sure, but it's kind of meh. But on the right, that table looks clean, intentional, and just plain better. And believe it or not, the only real difference is how the borders are handled. Getting from that before to this after is exactly what we're going to cover.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The first thing you need to understand is that every border has three basic properties you can change. Think of them as your fundamental building blocks: the style, the width, and the color.
First up is style, and you are definitely not stuck with just that one plain solid line. Word has a whole bunch of options. A double line can make a report feel a little more formal. A dashed or dotted line is great for separating things without making the table feel too heavy. Choosing the right style is really your first big design decision.
Next, we've got width, which is really just a fancy word for thickness. Now, this is a super powerful tool for creating a visual hierarchy. You could use a thicker, bolder line, like a 3-point or 4-point, to create a nice frame around the whole table, and then use a super thin hairline for all the lines inside. It just immediately guides the eye and makes everything easier to read.
And finally, we have color. Block is the default, and it's fine, but the pen color tool opens up a whole new world. You can pick a color that matches your company's branding, or even use the More Colors option to get a very specific shade. It's a really subtle touch, but it makes a huge difference in making your document look custom and professional.
Okay, so you've picked out your perfect style, your width, and your color. And Word gives you that little pen icon to start drawing them on. But that leads to the big, really frustrating question, right? How in the world are you supposed to apply these changes to the whole table without sitting there clicking on every single individual line? Well, trust me, there is a much, much better way.
And that brings us to the real game changer: applying borders with actual precision. We're going to stop thinking about painting one line at a time and start telling Word exactly what to do with entire sections, whether that's one cell, a whole column, or the entire table at once.
And here it is. This is the aha moment. The secret is to first select the part of the table you want to change. Let's just say the whole thing for now. Then, with your style and color already picked out, you go up to the Borders drop-down menu. This little menu is what lets you command Word and tell it exactly where you want that style to go. And what's so cool here is just how much control you have. All Borders does exactly what you'd think. It applies your style to every single line in your selection. Outside Borders just puts a frame around it. And you can get even more specific, applying styles to only the horizontal lines between rows or just the vertical ones between columns. This is how you really start designing efficiently. All right, you've got the core idea down. So now, let's level up your workflow a bit. We're going to move on to a couple of pro tools that'll make you way faster and give you pretty much ultimate control. I'm talking about the Border Sampler and the All-in-One Control Center.
First up is the Border Sampler, and this thing is a hidden gem for sure. Think of it like an eyedropper tool, but for your borders. You just click on any border that has a style you like, and your cursor instantly copies everything: the color, the width, the style. Then you can just go click on any other line to paint that exact same style on. It is fantastic for quickly making different parts of your table look consistent.
But for the most powerful, most detailed work, there is one single place that brings everything we've talked about together. This is what I like to call the all-in-one control center for your table design.
This is the Borders and Shading dialog box. Now, on the left, you've got all your controls neatly organized in one spot: the style list, the color picker, the width selector. But the real magic happens over on the right in that little preview pane. Think of it as an interactive mini-map of whatever cells you have selected. And here's the key. That preview pane isn't just a static picture. You can actually click on the top line, the bottom line, the middle horizontal line, any line in that little diagram to add or remove the style you just built on the left. You get to see a perfect live preview of your design before you even hit the OK button. It's total control.
So let's just recap the whole workflow. It's really a simple three-part process. First, you define the look of the border you want. That's your style, width, and color. Second, you select the area you want to change and then apply that look using the Borders menu. And finally, to really work like a pro, you use the Pro tools: the Border Sampler for speed and that dialog box for complete control.
So there you have it.
you are now armed with all the techniques you need to stop just accepting the default settings and start actually designing tables that are clear, professional, and a perfect fit for your document. So, the only question left is, what kind of awesome professional tables are you going to design now?